Hello and good morning. So I got two things that are happening here with this video. One is, will AI take my job? Maybe. I think what you're going to find is the better people, those that really want to work, and you're going to see if you are 18 or younger and you haven't been in the workplace yet, you're going to see this. If you're older, you know this. Maybe you're like me. When I went to work, I realized that some people just didn't want to work. I'm like, what are you doing? You do your job, do more than your job, do better than your job. And it's not like that in the world. Some people just want to be, I don't know, a white belt, and they never want to advance to the black belt and work in business. I don't know why. It's inside of me to work. So as a sales guy, as an engineer, as an entrepreneur, I always want to do. Will AI take my job? No, I'm using it. So it's been years since I've really ever programmed. And so I'm teaching myself Python. And I started going through some videos on how the best way to learn to create a game. And basically it was like, just pick a game and start to clone it, an easy game. So there's a game from way back in my youth. It was on a bulletin board system. So you would dial in to a BBS, which is basically like connecting into the internet before the internet was a thing. This is like maybe in the late 80s. And you would literally take the handset that was on, I should show you guys what it looks like if you're watching the video. Hold on. Okay, well, it's not a great picture of it, but this is what it looked like right here. You would take your computer, plug it into the back of the phone, but before this, it was actually the phone going into an audible thing. So I don't know why they thought they had to put the phone jack in there instead of just using the cable. But anyway, there was a device that had two cups. You'd put the phone bit in there, so the speaker and the microphone, and it would communicate back and forth with that thing. Anyway, you would dial in. You would go to a game and you would play. It was Fortnite way a long time ago. It was all ASCII based. So basically the keyboard was the only type of graphics you had. And there was 2 turns a day. You would do a thing and everyone else that dialed in would do the thing. And so the game was played twice a day by, I don't know, 10, 20, 100 people, depending on how many people signed up for that bulletin board's game. The computer would register everyone's move and then, or reveal the moves and then let you do another move. And then 12 hours later, you could do it again, right? So there was I guess, time to make these moves. Anyway, the bulletin board game, I said, or it was called Barrons. And I thought, I could probably recreate that. It'd be interesting. So this is my journey of 1, showing you that I don't think AI is taking your job if you're productive. 2, anybody, even me, can use AI to start building a thing. It's just not as easy as you think. So I know my wife and I disagree on this one. We got 2 boys in computer science, and she says, hey, it's probably going to take their jobs. And I'm saying no, because I know computer science a bit, and I can barely do what I'm doing. It's taking me a long time. Okay, so let me start off with this one too. I have been using, can I find Code Academy? There it is right here. So I've been using Code Academy to teach myself to program. So right now I'm on JSONs, which is actually part of what I'm using in this development. It's called Gdevelop, and it's version 5. So let's see if I got their website up right here. Yeah, this is it right here. So it's pretty easy. You can download it or you can use their online version. I just figured, well, I'll put it on my computer. I want to do the whole thing and see what it's like. So can I download it and start it up like in my computer? Okay. So the Barrons game, let me give you a preview of what I've done, and I'm going to show you some of the heartaches and hiccups that have occurred. And it's only been 24 hours. I've done, I think, pretty good for not doing anything for, 30 years, and then pulling this out. So here's a preview of the game. So you use WSAD, and you can move your Baron around on this map. And that's pretty much it. It won't go through the walls. So it stops on the walls as a 10 by 10. It only moves when you release the key, so I messed that part up and fixed it by doing a only move when I release the key. So the tool itself is pretty impressive, and I've enjoyed using it. There was a lot of heartaches. The first one was I wanted these question marks, the tiles that you don't know, so it's the fog of war, to go out in a grid, whatever you set the grid at. I just, for right now, hard-coded it as a 10 by 10. And the first thing that happened was I just got all the icons. I had one icon tile pop up. Here's the first problem. If you don't know, then you don't know, right? And so I am using ChatGPT. Let me go back to chat and show you what I was doing here. Where where's my chat? There it is. Okay. So I went to the very top here and I said, hey, I'm going to develop a game. He said, great. What game do you want to do? I'm thinking a couple games. It said a few games. And I said, hey, what about this game called Barrons? Do you know it? And he's like, yeah, I actually remember Barrons. So I need to ask him about that because it says it does know it. I can't even find a Brave search to actually find it, but whatever. So we're going through the iteration process. I said, all right, this is kind of what I remember it's like. And I said, yeah, me too. And I said, okay, develop me some steps. He's like, all right, here are your steps. And the steps are great. So here's what it so far has done for me. It broke down the tasks into the things I would have whiteboarded anyway. It just knows that, hey, in my large language model, these are the things I typically do and the things that come first. And that's what I recommend. I'm like, all right, let's do it. So when it tells me to code, it's not the same code that is actually in Gdevelop. So you actually have to like understand the difference in the lingo, right? So I see what it's saying and I understand in computer speak and I am teaching myself Python. It's sort of Python that they're using, but not really. It's a mix, their own language. Some sort of, not really drag and drop, but kind of. And I like it. It's good. And this small code, actually if I can pull it up right here. Yeah, that's it. This is all of my code. That's it. And it allowed me to create the, come on, pull it back up. There he is. This guy right here. So very minimal amount of code, which, yeah, if I had tried to code this just in the Andy McCann way, it would have not looked so easy and elegant, right? Okay, so what I've got to begin with, I declared some variables. It does this for you. It says, hey, you never declared them. Do you want to? I'm like, yes, I do. So it declares some variables. And if you're like, well, I don't even know what that means. Yeah, this is what I'm saying is, I don't think computer science kids or adults are in fear of losing their job. You're not just going to whip this out. Then it said you need 2 nested loops, which I know what that means. It means like there's a loop that's going to do this thing 10 times because I have a grid that's 10 by 10. So it's going to go right 10 or X and down 10, which is Y. So I need to nest that loop. So it goes over 1 and then down 10, over 1, down 10, over 1, down 10. Those are 2 nested loops. Again, if you're thinking, well, I don't even know what that means. This is my point. There's just a lot of stuff that you don't know that I'm going to know and that computer science people definitely know. So the first thing that happened is I know the loops are set up correct. You can see them right here. There's a loop right here with the X and then a loop right here with the Y, and it's do it 10 times. Actually, sorry. So this grid size X is my variable up here, so I set it to 10. And it just printed 1 tile. So you could start up over here. You could make tiles. So I made an unknown tile, a plains, a forest, mountain, lake, and then your player, right? So I made some tiles, some objects for it to grab in its own little art form. And it's just me just doing a scribble thing. It was really basic. And it's like I guess a paintbrush or something. Anyway, and it just printed up 1 question mark all in this spot. I'm like, okay, well, something's wrong. This grid is set up in a 64 character fashion. So basically each of this guy right here is 64 by 64. The whole screen is 640 by 640. So that makes sense, right? So divide by 10. What I didn't do was down here it says, hey, I want you to place a tile when you go 1, 1, then 1, 2, then 1, 3, and 1, 4. I want you to place a tile there. I didn't multiply it by 64. So it was just laying the tiles right on top of each other. So I'm like, okay, well, that's a problem. Let me go and put in some sort of multiplier. Duh, it should have been 64. At first I did 32 just to see what would happen, and of course it didn't work. So it had to be 64. So I put the multipliers in there, and it said, yeah, I'll pick that up and do it. So I got that to go. Then it was going in a straight line, and it wasn't moving over, so I had to set up some other variables. They would call them, if you created a function, and you had some variables in the function, those variables don't impact the rest of the program because it might be redundant variables. So the function knows that, hey, in this function, I probably used a good name, so I didn't have to do some extra commenting. I probably did not use X, Y, and Z. But if I did, and in your program you used X, Y, and Z, and everything could see itself, you would screw everything up. So what a function does is it says, all right, you have variables in this function that I'm not going to pass out. At the end, if you would like me to, I can pass the answer out, which is what it does, or I can pass a variable and you can name it and all that stuff, right? Typically, you just want the answer. So you do a function like, the function is, I don't know, Andy's life expectancy. So somebody puts in their name, weight, blood pressure, and heartbeats, and then you call the function based on those stats. So you would pass in the variables, and then it would pass out 92, and that's the answer. So you would say something like Andy's life expectancy equals function life expectancy, parentheses, data point, data point, data point, and it would do the whole thing. It would call the function. Anyway, so if you don't know that that's happening, man, this is going to be really tough. Again, this is why I don't think it's going to take the job. Now, in terms of like computer programming, this was pretty fun because I haven't done this in a very long time, and to get this thing to move was a lot of troubleshooting, and I really enjoy that. I love solving problems. My entire career has been around solving telecom problems, solving software problems, and so forth, and I enjoy it. So this gave me a chance to solve some problems, and I know the destination. I've got a mentor, which is kind of where I was going to go with ChatGPT. It's like a mentor, right? To tell me, hey, these are the steps you should probably take to get to this point. I still have to take the steps, and I have to know what they mean. So if you look right here, it's got, here's your text. It says, program this. And I was having a problem like, hey, I need you to be dumber and help me understand this a little bit better and what's going on. So we struggled quite a bit. And eventually it said, hey, man, why don't you just give me the JSON, the file, and I'll look at it, and then I'll pass you one back. I'm like, sure. And if you look at the name, let's see, save. Did it save it? It did, but let me look so I can see the name. Yeah, so if you look right here, it's preview of Barrons Reforged. So I just called it Barrons. It renamed the file when it passed it back. So I'm on the wrong file name, so I should do a save as. And can I do that here? Anyway, I'll go back and do that. So I should do a save as and put it back as my program's name rather than his. But again, going through some of this, it's like, hey, you should change these to the X positions. I'm like, yeah, so it doesn't exactly like the code that you're showing me. And I know you're shorthanding it. I need you to be dumber because the clicks in here are different. So when you're using like just regular coding, you can type whatever you want, wherever you want, whenever you want. This is nice because nesting becomes an issue. You might forget the tab. It's really hard to forget the tab when you do this. But it is also important to understand like at the beginning scene. So I like that it has a code for that. It's going to generate my fog of war and then put my character on the map. And then you move out of that and you can see how it's nested above or equal to the beginning. These are the movement keys, DSAW. So that's what gets you to move around. The next step, well, actually, I'll show you that. So it has the lineup of what I'm supposed to do. I've asked it more questions. We passed back the JSON. So yes, ChatGPT can help you program a game. It could probably write it all. Actually, you know what? It couldn't because I said, yeah, go ahead and give me your code and I'll start with your code. It didn't fix the problem that was out there when I loaded the JSON. So, or JSON. It still had the same problem. It had more code in it, but it didn't actually fix the one thing it was supposed to fix. But when I saw the coding it was using, I'm like, oh yeah, that's how I would do that, right? So there's things you would forget, or not forget, the things you would not know. The minor one being multiply by 64. How to nest the loop. How to move it outside of the loop so that you don't just get like, actually, let me show you that. I can redo this. So just by simply having the loop in the wrong place, let me move this up one. That's how easy it is. I love it. And say preview. It totally breaks the code. But I know that that's what's going on. So it's supposed to randomly assign where the B goes. But when I moved it back down, I lost something. See if I can do Control Z, undo it. There he goes. So I lost my startup, so it always puts it in this one. And I know why it's doing that. It's taking the variable up here rather than randomizing it, so I should probably put it back in, but whatever. It's up, and I can move, and the movement was what I was working on to get it fixed, so it's fine for now. That's another thing about programming. Just be okay with it sucking until you come back to it. So Chat and I were talking about the development of it, and it's doing, in my opinion, a really bad development. It's saying, hey, what I want to do is, in this fog of war, I should be able to see what these tiles are. I'm like, I agree. And it's like, okay, let's like convert the question mark tile into it. I'm like, wait a minute, that just sounds way too tough. As I move, you're going to do some calculations. One, we don't really care what it is, so can we just roll the dice and say, hey, that's what it is? So a lot less coding and math. Or two, can we pre-populate everything and know it in an array, and then as he moves, it just reveals it off the array. And he's like, yeah, actually, that would be easier. So I don't know if it actually is easier, but it went ahead and said, like a docile mentor, yeah, I guess that sounds like it's easier. So in some cases, I'm not so keen with chat because it gave up too easy. Okay, so it keeps everything in check. It says, correct way to use the repeat index. Yeah, we went through this a bunch. Let me see. Let me slide down here to some of the cooler things. Okay, so we had an issue with the at the beginning, so it's trying to actually like tell me where this thing would go. So if you look at its code, it doesn't look like the code over here. So I can see the similarities in it, but it's not the same code, right? So it's got a do loop where I've got a repeat loop. It's totally fine. It just says do equals. That's not how it actually codes over here. So it doesn't really know how it codes. It just knows that it's using a form for the JSON, so the JavaScript. And, you know, I don't know how to program Java, but obviously I've got a little bit of their Java makeup, right? Okay, so let me find where, double click the object. Yeah, so I had a whole problem with making the movement was a pretty tough one for me, and then getting it to stop go through the walls. That wasn't too bad. I just had to invert the greater than, so that's just another one. Like, you don't want it to move off the 0 line. So this is 0, 1, 2, 3 on the grid, and it goes up to 9. I know it's to 10, but it's not. 0 is the first one. And so if it's greater than 0, then yes, you can move left. But if it's 0, you can't move left anymore, and that's what prevents it from going off the screen, right? So originally I did 1, and it didn't work, and then over here I did 10, which let it move off the screen, and obviously that doesn't work. And you just have to realize, yeah, duh, it's 0 to 9. Okay, so the other thing that it lines you up with is the next step. So let me find that next step piece. Step by step. Final checklist. Okay. Well, I put up a lot in here. It's still not at the bottom. Oh, yeah, there's my cursor. Use this one, what we're doing. Step by step, Gdevelop development. So here's where we're going to talk about the tracking explain. All right, here's your plan updated. So the plan is, actually, this may not be the most updated one. I just don't want to slide all the way down. It says, check the nearby grid tiles. If no tile exists, generate one. Remove the fog. So that's the thing that I don't really like. It doesn't have to remove the fog. It just has to change out the icon that's being presented. So I don't know why it's thinking it's got to remove the fog. So maybe it knows something I don't. And then there was actually a whole bunch of other steps that I had in there. But anyway, so it's giving me the thing, and I tried to do it for a little bit. So here's where we started talking about it. Oh, he's like, yeah, you're right. Doing a total random generation would be faster and better. And then I asked it, well, what about the fact that it could theoretically do the entire thing on mountains? That'd be dumb. He's like, yeah, that's true. So we should probably come up with some rules. So already it's not as easy as I thought. So I said, look, let's just develop it and let's go random, and then we can put in the rules later on. He's like, yeah, that's actually a smart idea. That would be faster and easier to code and to prove the concept. I'm like, great. So that's what we're going through. So it is a good sounding board on what's going on. This right here took me 24 hours. Well, it took me the day of programming, so I don't know. I physically sat down and programmed for maybe 4 hours. And you can get lost in programming, so it could have been more. But I got that to work. So it's a beginning. And it wouldn't be very hard for me to then make this board 20 by 20 or 100 by 100. And theoretically, if I use this global variable correctly, then it would create, it would do everything for me in the exact same way, just expanded. Now, if you notice right here in this, I had a comment right here because I had to hard code this randomization, which then again didn't even work. So you're always going to start at 0, 0, which I don't want, but that's the way it's set up right now. And so that'll remind me, go back and fix that. Okay, so this is me using ChatGPT and speaking really nicely to it. I'm like, hey, I'm going to go to bed. We can talk about this tomorrow. And it's like, great, I can't wait to walk you through this stuff. So it's the ultimate patient mentor. It knows, it doesn't really know more than me. It just sees all the available data that I could get or that I've forgotten, and it can put together. So it's a large language model. It doesn't really have inspiration, but because it sees so many words, it can say, these words typically go together, so look at what I came up with. It looks like I'm inspired. It's not. It's just, it's a large language model. It's the most likely word that should come next. Generally procedural text or whatever. GPT, yeah. Anyway, so I'll make this a whole video series and track you guys along as I do this. It'll be an interesting little game, and I'll eventually put it on Steam for us to play. My intent is to have a game that it's like an old game. Actually, I wonder if it's still out there. It was called Inselkampf. I think .uk. Let's see if it still exists. No, Inselkampf. It basically means island war or island struggle. Oh man, is it gone? No longer. There's a German one. So, yeah, ik.g. So it's still out there. I wonder if I could find some. Let me pause you guys and look for this. All right, well, this is it. It looks like maybe they turned it off. It was a pretty cool old game that took up a lot of our time. But anyway, so my idea is to get this Barrons game up and running and do something like every 12 hours we launch a server and let it go, or not every 12 hours, that sounds dumb. At the beginning of the month, we launch a server and you have 30 days to win or something like that. And every 12 hours you get to take a turn. Or maybe right at the beginning, it says make like 10 turns and I'll move you guys all out 10 places or something. I'm not exactly sure. I don't remember how the dial-in worked and how many moves you could get. But it had an explore aspect. It had an attack aspect. It had, run away, fight, mine, build something. So it was... The most interesting bit was that you were playing against living people. So the computer really had very little to do. I'm going to put in some animated or some computer-driven bad guys. So they'll be doing some thinking. But yeah, so it should be kind of neat. It'll be out on Steam eventually one day. I'll probably put it out there for like $2. Just, hey, it generated some money. That would just be kind of neat. Anyway, so this will be my journey through that and showing you guys how ChatGPT or the other engines, I might try something different, can help you build a program out, build a project. But one, you know what I'll do? I will do it all myself with its help. And then I'm going to say at the very end, hey, you've seen what we do. Can you just generate the game for me that you think would be similar and appropriate? And then I'll see, like, after all that work, could it do it? I do pay for ChatGPT, so it should remember the things we've done, and it should be able to generate something. Now, if it's too big, I don't know. There's probably like a problem with the size of which it can do. So this is a non-programmer guide to getting some programming done and my journey on building my first game.